to fill you in. I first want to credit Carly up there in Baltimore for being so helpful. She's always the person I send email to and go, Carly, what should I do now? And she goes, well, I'm moving, so I can't talk to you right now, but I will. So she's been a super helpful, super inspiration. And we've been just thrilled with how our program has kind of taken off. We kind of took a flyer on it because we didn't know what it was going to look like or how many people would be interested in it or what it would do, but it's done remarkably well, and it continues to grow. And we see a lot of promise for this in the coming years and months because of some affiliated reasons in the community too. So we'll talk about that a little bit. If anybody has access to my slideshow, I'd love to show the first one. That talks about program details and what we're doing with that.
Okay, so I'm gonna say Overton Courthouse.
Yeah, would you like me to share slides or?
Sure, if you don't mind, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. So there you are. We're the Cincinnati Hamilton County Public Library in beautiful Southwest Ohio. That's where we live. Next slide. And we decided to talk today about the seeds of success because for us, that's really what it was. We started with nothing and kind of built it from the ground up. So that's kind of the approach we take. And the pictures you see at the bottom are all from our classes. We have a great cross section of people that I'll describe in a moment, teachers, students, and a lot of people that have come from all over the community that have decided to be partners with this, which has been a really great piece of this that we've been able to add that has made these programs successful. Next slide, please. So we started our classes in September of 2022. We've had 6 classes in 10 months, and there's kind of an a la carte thing. I know some people do things that are much more formal academy style, but we decided to kind of see where we could go from the beginning. And so that has allowed people to join us as we go. We've repeated a couple classes along the way. So as we picked up new people, we kind of had a foundation that everybody could share on. But that's kind of the style we've decided to go with so far, and it's worked really well. As you can see, we've reached about 100 students so far, which not bad for 6 classes. We're pretty thrilled with that. Here's a good profile of who's been willing to take our classes or wanted to take our classes. Entrepreneurs in health and beauty, healthcare, which we'll talk about especially shortly, tutoring, food and fashion, crafting, IT, photography and videography, retail, disability advocacy and real estate. And perhaps most interesting of all, it's been 95% women. We've not had too many men come to our program, and it's been very clear in our sessions along the way that the women in our community are the ones that are the driving force for starting new business. So we've been using a lot of women in our presentations, and they've been great about it. They've made a great connection, and that's been an interesting piece of the profile for us as we've kind of tried to figure out what people want, what they want to learn, who they want to meet. But overall, the biggest thing for all of us has been that these guys are looking for the front door to small business ownership or how to reboot a small business they already have. So by front door, I mean, they've always wanted to do it, but they had no idea where to start. So we've really focused on creating the front door for them by having approachable coaches, both in our classes and outside our classes, so that they can sit down and talk to somebody like them who understands that how to get there and how to open that door so they can get started and connected to the skills and resources and programs that we need. Next slide. And so what are we teaching? Well, we're teaching things that are pretty basic but essential. So the key characteristics of a small business owner, the pillars of ownership, there's 4 or 5 of those that you might be well versed in. We've talked about costs, risks, and rewards a lot. Again, essential for understanding if you can do small business and if you're going to make it, you have to be well informed and kind of aware of the playing field, the things that are at risk when you try to do it, but also the payoff. If you're able to stick with it, connect with some people like you and get the resources and guidance you need, you can do well. We spent a fair amount of time 2 sessions ago talking about funding and financial literacy, because if you remember, the West Coast banking SVB thing was a wide interest to small business here. So we incorporated that into our program because we wanted to talk a little bit about not only that crisis, but things you should think about in terms of having your small business funding in one pile or two piles, or how you should connect with your banker and how you can stay on top of things like that event and what that might do to current market conditions and future market conditions, because it's pretty certain based on the experts that this is probably going to shrink small business funding in some ways. And for startups, especially in the tech sector, may or may not be a good thing for them down the line. So we did spend some time on that. No question that defining the product, the customer, and the market, and how to market to all of those was a big piece of what we talked about. We did a good program on how to create a business plan. We spent an hour and a half on that, how to get it on paper and what to do with it in real life. And then we spent a fair amount of time in the last session, which was a boot camp, talking about elevator pitches, how you make one, how you make it resonate with people, what should be in it, what it should look like, and how you use that to connect to not only your customers, but perhaps to funders and lenders as well. I would say from all of that, as good as all of that was, the nicest thing for us in observing the classes was after class. There were so many people connecting, exchanging contact information and talking about potential partnerships with people, other small business owners that they did not know. And that's been really cool to see, because I had a woman who was a videographer, photographer, and there happened to be somebody in the class looking for a videographer, photographer to help her kind of create multimedia for her class. So that's been cool. We've had tutors and others who have been able to connect with people inside our class. And we just had a lady that came to me and said, I have just published my first ebook. I need a graphic artist. I need somebody who can help me create a book cover. So that just happened to be good for me to know. And I happen to know somebody that's in graphic arts that'll probably be able to help her with her book, and they can get connected in a small business way that's very beneficial to both of them. Next slide. Who are our partners? Well, that's our secret sauce. As much as we'd like to say it's because we did it at the library, that's what set it apart. But I think for us, we have been very fortunate in our community to have some great partners who have really run with this. There's an organization called ECDI, which is a state offshoot of the Small Business Administration. They are micro lenders, so they're really good at putting together startups with money that they can afford to use. And they also have an arm called the Women's Business Center, which is also for men. But they have some very skilled counselors there that can really walk people from 101 up to 501 in terms of how to set up a business and get going. They've been terrific. SCORE, you guys might be familiar with SCORE. It used to be called the Retired Corps of Executives. They kind of go by the acronym now and not use the retired part. But these are folks that are volunteer mentors who have business experience, and they're willing to sit down one-on-one, do trainings. And they've been a big part of the curriculum that we've done. They've been very helpful. We have connections with both the Hispanic and the African Chamber of Commerce. So in our area, Hamilton County is one of the fastest growing Hispanic sectors in Ohio. And the same thing with the African population. We've received
West
a lot of
Africa.
immigrants and others. What's that?
West Africa specifically.
Yeah. And we've been able to make some connections with them and get them involved in talking to our students if that is the area of the world where they're from and they have specific needs. Our Chamber of Commerce has been super great. And I think more than anything else, we've had local business owners. We're getting them involved and they've been helpful. I'll tell you about 3 specifically that have been really cool. The lady you see on the screen holding the cake there, her name is Kamaya. She has a small startup bakery, which is about 30-minute drive from here. She's been able to come up here and talk to our students about how she got from loving baking to opening a business to hiring her first employees and getting connected with DoorDash. So she's got a great journey and a great path, and we've been able to share that with our students. The second lady you see there, Nicole, runs Destiny Beauty and Barber Academy just down the street. She is a very interesting person because it is a beauty academy and a barber academy. But one of her missions is helping her students understand how to be small business owners. When you work in a salon, you do have some control over your chair, your clients, and she does a very good job of teaching her students how to be small business owners and how to be financial literacy capable so that when you're running a small business, you have more control over your destiny. Um, she's been a great partner for us. The third one that's not pictured here, but it's worth talking about. Ashley and Aaron, they are local mother and son team. A couple of years ago, they decided to, during the pandemic, to launch a healthcare app that's called Reassist. It came about because they understood that when people left the hospital, there was really no apparatus for connecting anybody to care beyond the walls of the hospital. So Ashley and Aaron decided to make this app. So Aaron was 11 at the time. He told his mom, I'll just build it, which he did. And Ashley ran with that. They got selected for an MIT Global Award in the last 2 years. And in fact, our branch manager just came back from an MIT Global Chat that they were featured at and got to see their pitch and meet some other people in the business world from around the world trying to solve some of these giant problems. And they've been a great help to not only us, but our students and our programs as well. So that kind of gives you a profile of what we call our secret sauce. It has been a really good effort by some very skilled people in our community that we've been happy to host and partner with and work with over the course of the last 10 months. Next slide. And then we always talk about in our sessions, how can the library help you? Not only are we a space, we are, and it's a quiet space to work. We have people that run their businesses out of some of our libraries, including ours, but we have a new branch coming down the street that will be small business friendly. And by that, we mean in looking at the people that are using our branch, we're going to have some banner and sign printing capabilities we don't have now. We've found that small businesses and nonprofits really want to have a way to do that, but it can be exorbitantly expensive. So they can do some of those things in our new space. We're also talking about having meeting rooms and collaborative
pods.
spaces. Yeah, study pods and other places that are multimedia. So if people are doing Zoom meetings or want to have meetings with clients, they'll be able to do that in our space. And also we're talking about co-sharing. Those partners I've been describing in our presentation, we've invited some of them to come and have regular hours in our space. So they don't have a northern branch, for instance. They'll be able to come to our library, use our space, and have regular hours for our customers, which means that if people walk in the door with unplanned small business interests, we can send them down the hallway or down to the space and they can get some one-on-one time with these folks who are really skilled. And that's been a great part of the conversation we've had and kind of designed this new branch. The other things our library does is we offer free printing. So our customers can get 20 pages a day, color or black and white. That's been valuable to small business startups that don't have big budgets for printing. We do offer some tech help. So if people have things they're trying to do with tablets or phones or those kind of things, we can offer that here. We have a laptop kiosk which people can use. We talked about the maker space. We don't have one here, but we will. And so for some of those things that people do, including sewing and etching and 3D printing, we'll have some opportunities for them in our space. And we already have some other branches in our system that have that. We have one-on-one help with grants in our library system. It's not at our building, but it is at our downtown branch, and that's been valuable. I was at a small business gathering down the street a couple of weeks ago, and that room was one of the busiest that there was because there were people from the county that set up to do one-on-one conversations about helping people get connected to grants and things. And we saw the value in that. And then finally, we always talk about people, about the things they can do with their library card. So we have several of these resources down here that folks can use. LinkedIn Learning is a great place to get tutorials. O'Reilly, there's some grants and the reference library. Those things are all useful, and people with their library card can get access to things that they wouldn't be able to do on their own. So we've been always happy to tell people it's not just a book space. It's a collaborative community space where you can learn, but we can also get you connected to people who can teach you about small business, among other things. Next slide. And that's the end of it. So that's kind of a snapshot of who we are, what we've done. Like I said, we've been thrilled with the way that it's taken off. We're very optimistic that it will continue to grow and build and be valuable and useful for people in our community for years to come. Michelle, you want to add anything?
I was just gonna say, the local news has had a weekly feature on sort of movers and shakers, and it's been focusing on mostly women in business. And so by watching that, I was able to run and scribble something down real quick, and we were able to make some connections that way, which was really neat. Like, so Destiny's Beauty Academy, I saw her on the news, and it's like, oh, it's right around the corner. So we were able to make some really good connections that way. And just as a funny aside, so I think it's SCORE. My brother-in-law has several of his own small business ventures, and they live up in Akron. And believe it or not, the guy down here knew my brother-in-law up in Akron. When I asked my brother, like, oh yeah, I know so-and-so. I was like, it's a very small world. It really is. But we also wanted to thank Carly for all her assistance and help. She's kind of been the great inspiration to really get this moving. So we just wanted to give her, as you said, a shout out. So thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to say that we were paired through the Libraries Build Business peer coaching program, if anyone wasn't familiar. But you guys, you should mention the healthcare success story. Peter, you referenced it earlier, but I think it's a really cool story to share.
Well, sure. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. So as I said, Ashley and Aaron had been using our libraries during the pandemic, especially when they decided to launch their business. And they took a flyer because it takes a lot of guts to say, I'd like to solve this giant international healthcare problem. And your 11-year-old son steps up and says, I'll help you, Mom. So they came to our library unbeknownst to us for a while, just doing prints and things. Finally, they decided we need to try to talk to somebody about doing something with this program. So not only did we give them help with prints, but we got connected to the grants experts downtown. That's where in our downtown branch, because I saw that question in the chat. And they were able to get them some startup funding for grants. And once they got some money in the pocket and were able to do some things with some grants, they were able to make a presentation to MIT. And MIT set up an international competition that selects ventures from around the world who are trying to crack some of these big problems. And they got selected to be an MIT Global Award winner. So that's connected them to a whole different ecosystem of people around the world like them. And because of the stuff they were able to do at the library, they've been the benefactors of launching this unique business proposition. And being able to reach a global audience is something that started in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I really loved all of the impact stories. It was so cool to hear about some of the entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and we continue to pick up new ones. So just today, we had a couple of ladies that came in and we were just chatting around the desk. And I saw a lady with a shirt on that said mompreneur. So being the nosy guy that I am, I said, what's mompreneur? And she goes, well, I have a beauty business. And she goes, and I could use some help. So I'm like, I know a guy or 3 or 10. So we're going to connect by email, and then I'll try to get her connected to our partners. Somebody asked about our partners. So our partners do make their presentations in our branches, but they also, what's been cool about our partners is they will go meet with our students in their own space or at their space or at other spaces. So it's been really good because while we don't have them all at our branch all the time, I can connect them and they can go to either them or meet at a neutral space or meet at an office space that SCORE or other has. And that's why we're talking about having co-sharing in our new branch, because we'd like to have regular hours so that people can be in the northern part of the county, which is pretty far from downtown Cincinnati, but it's a booming area around here, and get one-on-one time with these folks maybe a couple of times a month for sure. And that's been really valuable because we've had programs on Saturdays and, we've had 20 to 30 people every time. And that's a big commitment for somebody for an hour and a half on a Saturday when you're working full time too.
I saw a number of questions come in through the chat. I don't know if you were
I was trying
monitoring
to think and read
Okay.
at the same time, and I'm not good at that. So if you can help me.
Yeah, let's work back. Well, they keep coming in.
Yeah, I know. It's okay.
That's great. Thanks, everybody. So yeah, so Jennifer says, do you all promote government procurement as a client? There are a lot of small business set-asides.
I am no expert on government procurement or what that means. Carly might be a better person to ask about that one because I don't have ours is not at that level yet. Let me put it that way.
Could I mention just an organization that people might not be aware of? So a lot of states have organizations that specifically provide free assistance for government procurement. So Baltimore County is in Maryland. So ours is MDPTAC, which is PTAC. So if you look at your state and then PTAC, again, PTAC, these individuals will provide free consulting if your business has been around for more than 2 years to help these individuals win government contracts. So that's an organization that some people might not be familiar with.
We have that also, Carly, in South Carolina. It was called SCPTAC, and they changed their name recently to Apex. And so we just had a community partners meeting, and they were saying that they're just thrilled because I think they're in now over $17 million worth of transactions based on going through them. And they were one of our community partner spotlights. So yeah, they're a great organization if your state has one.
And I think that's been one of the things that's resonated through this whole thing. I talked about at the beginning is finding the door. So many people have great ideas and they have no idea where to start. So when you throw out acronyms like that, and SCORE and other things, people don't even know who they are. And so I think it's been cool to see them kind of get it too. We have parallel missions. We're operating in parallel universes, but they may not know our customers and our customers certainly do not know them. So what I would say to folks is make those connections and then help your students make those connections if you can beyond class, because SCORE and these other organizations have a lot to offer and they can do a lot of things, but nobody knows they're there often unless you're inside the business. And that's been a good thing to see people discover. And that's an important thing too.
Did you get to this one? Randy asked if the grant experts were librarians and do they know about grants outside of what is available through the Foundation Center database, or do they help with the writing of grant requests and RFQs?
Yeah, so I know that we have a team that's in our downtown branch, and that's the one place where they do it. These guys are really skilled. So I know Ashley and Aaron that I mentioned, the ones that did the healthcare app, they had one-on-one appointments, and our downtown folks who are grant experts were great with that. And it is one-on-one by appointment, but they will spend as much time as they need with any kind of grant that you want, including helping you write it for sure.
And it looks like Diane's question was similar. Did that answer your question too, Diane?
I just had a question. Do you have someone's contact information? Because that's another area. We have a grants coordinator for the library, but they do work for the library, not the customer. So we're very interested in looking what the possibilities are to help the customers.
Yeah, I'd be happy to connect you with the team at the downtown branch. They're great, super helpful, and they're always thrilled to connect with people from other places that they can help too. Yeah. So if you drop me an email,
if I drop my contact information in the chat, is that okay?
Yeah, do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Another question from Randy about getting partners back into the branches rather than to continuing to provide help online only.
Yeah, we've definitely done that. We were a little nervous at the beginning because, COVID was still a thing and we were all masked up there for a while, but they've been willing to travel. I think one of our most unique partners is a women's accelerator called Aviatra. They're in Northern Kentucky, which is about a 45-minute drive from here. they've been here every step of the way. They just did a boot camp for us, and they're more than willing to travel where they need to go and be in the library space. And they've been somebody we've been talking to about co-sharing space at our new branch, and they're very interested. So we've had no trouble persuading people to come up and use our space for their classes. That's been great.
Have you had anyone that wanted to set up a nonprofit, and do you treat them any differently?
We do. I mean, I think in our basic meetings, we've done a kind of the basic class a couple of times. We've had people that feel like nonprofits or social entrepreneurs, I think was the phrase that was used. And our teachers can sit down with them and work through the funding needs and things that they have. So we do treat them a little differently. They get the basic knowledge, but our teachers have been more than willing to connect with them outside class and walk them through some of the things that are different for nonprofits, for sure.
I was going to say, and the really funny thing is, we just had someone ask us probably about 20 minutes before they started. She goes, I'm looking for books on nonprofit. I said, so you want to start one up? She goes, that's what I'm thinking of. So there you go.
Yeah, and I think the profile of our students that I've seen, because I've been in all the classes, and it's like I said, 95% women. They want to change the world, and so they would like to make a business out of it. But I think more than anything else, they find a purpose, and they just need help getting connected to a way to fund that so they can stay afloat. They don't necessarily want to get rich. And I think when I talked about tutoring and disability advocacy and healthcare, those are tough sectors that take a lot of money and time and energy. But these are folks that are motivated by greater good, sometimes more than profit, for sure.
Stacy, go for it.
Oh, I just wanted to speak to Randy's question about SCORE, because we've had a similar challenge in Spokane County where the pandemic, coupled with the fact that most of the currently active mentors were older and in that vulnerable population group, did not want to, they still don't want to come into the library.
Yeah, we've had that. We've been asking repeatedly, and they'll happily go and use our spaces, because we
Right.
do have spaces, study pods and things like that, for meeting with their current clients, but they won't go and come back and do office hours like they used to before the pandemic. And unfortunately, we lost a number of SCORE people
Wow.
because of the pandemic.
That's really rough. I know our
yeah.
chapter, their space, and I'm sure this is the case with many SCORE chapters, they have office space in the Small Business Administration
Right.
office. And because the SBA has, I'm not even sure their office is fully open now, 4 years, 3.5 years after the pandemic started. So I think some of it is just a little bit of retraining. We never had open hours for SCORE mentoring. That is a conversation I'm going to start at our chapter meeting next week and see if that's something we can do to ease in. I have to say, selfishly, the online workshop delivery model works better for our community because we have our county is so large and a mix of rural and suburban. So we get better attendance at the workshops being online, but I agree, Randy, it would be really great to have an in-person presence again at some point.
The other sort of wrinkle in it is because Brooklyn Public Library is so near New York Public Library, guess which ones they're going to choose given options. So we're having a little bit of a struggle finding a partner that will stay with us. Start Small, Think Big is actually doing the office hours at New York Public Library, and they are a fantastic organization. We're hoping to do more with them. But right now, I mean, we'll be happy if we could just go and get somebody who will promise to go and take appointments in our space. And this has been 2 years of this, and the last year has sort of been, I just don't know if this is something that we're going to be able to do anymore.
Yeah, I'd be happy to put my people on the plane and send them your way, because I think
I'd love it.
they're that good. I mean, they're so eager to help. And I think SCORE especially has kind of figured out here, at least the chapter here, we have to get out and go to where the people are rather than hoping they find us and come to us. And I think everybody that we've had in our program has had that attitude. Again, as I said before, if you're in small business, you may know about a lot of these places where you get started and who can help you. But if you're not, it's a giant wall with no door,
It
and
absolutely
it's
is.
tough. So
Yeah.
you're always going to, and they're happy to gravitate to and sit down with people that they can meet to face to face. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring in small business owners is because in our community, when people see people like them, it gives them a little boost of confidence. They're not as afraid to ask questions. And when we see them chatting after class and making connections and working together on things with somebody they've never met before, that would probably is their neighbor and is like them and in their community, it's an elevation for them. And I had a lady email me the other day, and she goes, finally, after class, I decided I was just going to do it. And I did. I launched my disability advocacy program. And she said, I needed a nudge. And after seeing your guys and talking to people, I knew I could do it. And she did. So that was great.
I will also say, because of our location, our main branch is in downtown Cincinnati, which hugs the river. And so Cincinnati is literally right in the corner between Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. So we are literally on the other end of the loop. So we're at the top part of the county. So that puts us like 5-10 minutes from the next county up, which is its own development. So we're kind of in a weird in between space. So, in some cases, it's easier for people to go to the next county over than it is to try to fight the traffic to drive downtown. Because, everybody that has to work or live downtown knows the headaches. So it's nice. I've heard a lot of people say it's nice that we can bring all those people up here to this location, so they don't have to worry about transportation or daycare or spending all day on the bus, because as much as I love our metro, there are a lot of deficiencies in it. It's not New York or LA where you got a really great transit system. So I probably say that's probably one of the key factors that's helped us, is the fact that we can act as a central hub for the northern part of the county and kind of catch the southern part of Butler County, which is what we butt up against. So I would say that that's probably helped.
And I would say the other piece of that is we kind of got lucky here, our timing blindly. We didn't know that there were things going on in the background to buy and redevelop a very large mall from here into a $1 billion living community arts program. And in fact, our new library, which is not far from that development, is probably going to be the hub of a very large development in this community, the first one in 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we know from seeing that, and that's why we wanted to get our small business programs up and running, that we're going to have a new space where we can do things on a much larger scale, because there's an audience out there for it. And if we have a more modern space, more useful space, more flexible space, we can offer a place for them to do things that they can't do now.
Right.
That should give them a leg up in a way that they would not have had without being able to connect to our new branch.
Are there other questions that weren't answered in the chat? It seems like a lot of great discussion there, like to the extent that I can't keep up. So I'm not sure which questions have been answered, or if you still think that you want us to elaborate on anything, feel free to unmute and ask your question, or stick it in the chat again. Jennifer has another question. Yes, everyone is keeping me on on my toes. How are you able to keep funding when so many cities and counties are cutting services, and do you use outside funding?
Well, here's the thing with us. I mean, our programs are based at the library, and they don't cost anything. I mean, we're not paying presenters. These guys are all we've been able to make partnerships with them, and they are just willing to do it. So we don't have really any budget for what we're doing. We have a small budget for supplies and snacks, the usual things, but really it's just been talking to people saying, hey, we have a lot of customers up here that want to get to know you. Would you be willing to do it? And they all to a man have said yes. So that helps with funding. But I would also say this, again, this is blind luck, but our county, Hamilton County, Cincinnati, has really taken it upon themselves to turn small business into an economic driver. They just opened a brand new, for the first time, Office of Small Business about a month ago. And so they have made it a point of focus for the economy here. They really are working hard to get small business off the ground. And we do whatever we can to direct people to their experts. And they've been good partners for us too. And we continue to kind of cultivate that by going to their events. By the way, that's the other piece of it. We go out and go to people where they are. So it doesn't look like we're always asking and not giving. And trying to be in their space where we can be helpful to them too, and connect the library to customers that might not come here.
So,
I was,
so the successes, that's the question. It's like, as soon as you're successful, they start either claiming it and pulling it into their departments,
Yeah.
or they just say, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I will say at this point, at this moment in time, none of our presenters seem to have that attitude. Because one of the things in having a discussion with them that we've heard from them is we would like to have people find us too, because again, they rely on proving to funders they're doing their work. And so this is good for them. They can say, look, I served 30 people today. Continue to keep the money here because we can take the show on the road. And we can benefit our customers by going to a space where the customers want us.
right, we're a physical location. We provide the space and they provide the manpower. So they don't have to worry about renting an extra office or extra staff or something. They can just come out here and boom, they're right where they need to be. So that I think is helpful.
Janet's got her hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the questions about nonprofits. So we have an organization in Delaware called the Delaware Alliance for Nonprofit Advancement, and they advocate as well as help develop and support nonprofits. They're going to try and build a specific center, like a more formal program around them, but they actually do coaching and things like that, and do things specifically that they need, like training on how to form an effective board, and things like that. So I just put in the chat an organization while we were on the meeting. I texted them because I knew that sometimes something will come up in their meetings, and they'll say, oh, well, they're going to go check with the other organizations like them to see if anybody else has that information or experience or whatever. So I just texted them, and it was, what is that organization? It's the Council of Nonprofits. And I just went and looked at this link at the website. There's a directory there by state of what the nonprofit organization is, and it's kind of I think of them as being like the Chamber of Commerce of nonprofit organizations. So they're really, really helpful and supportive. So that's where we refer anybody that comes in and wants to start a nonprofit, because that's their world. They are just that's all they do all day. So.
And that's a really good tip, because I was not aware of them, but I think you once again hit the thing that I think has been most valuable, and that is being the navigator or connector. We don't have to be the source of all knowledge. Right. I just like to say, I know a guy. So, and that is often what small business people that are trying to feel their way need. They need to know a guy who they can email or talk to or connect with. And that's super valuable, super valuable.
I think what's Randy and then Diane.
I have a quick, really, maybe it's just us question. We have a business plan competition. We've been doing it for 20 years. And over the last 2 or 3 years that I've been here, the number of people who are trying to be, their business is that they're going to be a life coach, has gotten very large. And our job as librarians here is to go and help people come up with a business plan and also some planning for the future. I am having the world's worst time finding information about this field. And I was wondering if any of you had any hints as to, I know there's associations, but what are you doing to fudge those numbers? Because it's not not something with an NAICS code. It's not got something with an SIC code. It's sort of a, you don't need a qualification to do it. So, which is another reason a lot of people are like, hey, I can go and be a life coach. Where are you going to get the info?
Wow. I don't have any magic on that one. I had that lady, I know a lady that's one of our regular small business customers that comes to our classes. That is her business. So she is a life coach. She breaks it down by the sectors like financial literacy and other pieces like that that she can formalize. And usually with her, it's a matter of trying to figure out a way to financially put her business together so it's financially viable. She knows people need her service, especially with financial literacy. But I think she struggles with that too. How do you validate that and market it and make sure that people get out of it something that they're willing to pay for? And I don't know that there's a magic answer on that one.
Thank you. That's unfortunately what I thought that your answer was going to be, because we've spent a lot of time on this.
Diane, you're up.
Thanks, Megan. I just wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, Janet, that link is great because I looked at the map. There's only one organization in South Carolina that works with nonprofits, and it's Together SC. And we did have someone come out and do a wonderful presentation about how to start your nonprofit. So, you know, I don't want people to leave this meeting thinking you have to be an expert in all of these areas. You don't. We have wonderful community experts. Well, I'm saying this because I'm writing this article for the Journal of Library Administration, and you have to survey who you have in your community because every community is rich in these resources. You just have to identify who they are. And you're right, they don't charge anything. They're happy to come and share their expertise. So that's a big plus. The other thing I wanted to say to Jennifer about the funding, I'm in the same boat. We've never had anyone try to take over a project. One thing we did is we went to our Friends and Foundation Board. We did a presentation for them.
Nice.
They were willing to give us some money. That was really cool. We offer Career Online High School here at Richland Library, and we used to get money from the library's budget. And then it happened that one of the people who was a board chair rolled off the board, and she went to work with a nonprofit that's called Power Ed. And they're now funding us along with the Sisters of Charity, Colonial Life. So the last thing I want to say is you have to let everybody know you have a seat at that table. And to make sure that they understand the important things that you are doing, and they'll help you promote them. Because I mean, we're all doing wonderful things. I mean, I'm so impressed by all these different services. So again, I think you just have to make sure that they understand that the library is the hub, you know, and free access. Where else could people get this kind of expertise free of charge? So just trying to encourage, but it is possible for sure.
Yeah, and Diane, I would echo that. I mean, the best thing I've done is ask. And if people say no, they say no, it doesn't work for you. I just discovered a program today by Goldman Sachs that's based across the country that's called 10,000 something. But anyway, I wrote them an email and said, hey, you guys got any local people? Could you come and do a program? Would you like to be a partner? And all they can do is say no. So I'm not shy about asking people. And if we can have their expertise, more power to us. And that's been the same thing with customers. I know sometimes we're sort of like, I don't want to ask a customer if they could help us because they're a customer. But the people that have come in here, including the lady that was wearing a shirt that said mompreneur, I sort of felt like that's an invitation to ask me about my business. And I was right because she was in the beauty business. But she said, I had no idea I could learn this here, connect with people here. And I never thought to even ask that question while I was here. So it's a discovery thing for our customers too. And they value the opportunity to come and ask us. They trust us, and they're like, if you have an email or you know a guy, I'd like to know that guy too. And that's great. And then it also helps us add our customers as teachers to our program. So then they're vested in it because they're talking to perhaps people they know in the community or people they'd like to know. And that's how we picked up some of our teachers along the way that we continue to add to our programs.
One thing right back at you, does anyone know that NASDAQ has a grant that if you wanted to do business services, our grants coordinator said, are you interested? I said, how much would that be? $75,000. So there are people everywhere that want to give us money. We just have to figure out how to get it and what steps we have to take. So.
Thank you so much, Peter and Michelle. This was a great discussion. Thank you everyone for being here today and participating. It was good to see everyone. Yeah, I thought this was a wonderful discussion. So I'm so glad everyone was able to participate, and really thanks so much, Peter and Michelle.
You're most welcome. And if you need any help or any advice or you have ideas, send me an email or drop me a line or call me here in Cincinnati. We'll be happy to talk because I don't have a corner on the market. We're new to this. Like I said, we didn't really have a plan except to launch it, and we're kind of letting it take its course and follow it a little bit. So the tail's wagging the dog a little bit, but it feels good. And I think our shape works for our community really well.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is what works for one may or may not work for another. You really got to get a feel for your community because that's who we're here for. So let them drive it.
I dropped a really quick exit ticket in the chat. Fill that out so we can think about what topics are interesting to this group so we can continue to provide good conversation in the future. I hope to see everyone at ALA Annual. Don't forget to come to our networking mixer. I'm really excited to see you all there. And then again, back here online in July for our next conversation. So thanks again. I'll leave the line open if anyone wants to chat with me, but otherwise have a great rest of your day and talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.